You're listening to No Plot, Only Lore, a podcast about games and the tables we play them at. Your DMs tonight and every night are Josh and Kris. You can find us on all podcast platforms or check us out at noplotonlylore.com. If you like what you hear today, please rate and review the show and share it with everyone you've ever met.
Welcome back to No Plot, Only Lore, this week brought to you by crowdfunding. Crowdfunding. It's a way to get money that you don't deserve.
Do you have too much money and you want to just kind of park it somewhere indefinitely? Crowdfunding, the perfect place to just throw it out the window.
Literally never been a problem for me.
Yeah, I also
right,
don't
no.
Kickfund? Crowdstart. Crowdstart things.
We're starting a new service here at No Plot Only Lore. Crowd fund.
Whatever.
Start. Kick.
It's probably actually a great way to make money because every time I see a new like right-wing grifter online, they've got a crowdfunding thing on a platform I've never heard of, and it's got like $3 million kicked into it. So
probably the funniest thing about that is that the first thing my head went to was Grindr, but then I remembered that that isn't a crowdfunding thing.
No, it's not. That's a crowdfucking thing.
Oh, okay. Crowdfunding. Have you ever kickstarted a thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have one Kickstarter running currently. In that I backed it. A lot of them now make use of these like payment plan platforms because crowdfunding has gotten to the point where there is no Kickstarter that is less than $500. Well, yeah, we can get into that specifically later, but all of the board game projects that are kind of worth backing, you wind up needing to back for $400 or $500 to get everything, right?
It's insanity for everything, but like I assume that there's like lower tier.
There's lower tiers, but like
stuff.
they're a total waste of your time, right? Because what happens is like they put a lot of stuff behind the stretch goals, and the lowest tiers won't qualify for stretch goals.
Okay.
Never mind that. Like it's like I only kickstart things that I actually like really enjoy and care about. So yeah. I have that like this. I have that unfortunate collector completionist urge as it is. But yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So the Kickstarter I backed. Have you heard of a game called Ark Nova?
Only through you. Yeah.
No. It's a zoo game, tile based, whatever. Mm-hmm. They don't need to Kickstarter. I don't know if they did for the first release or whatever. Like they've done some campaigns, but basically, this is specifically for like a big box product that is 3D tiles and tokens and just fancy upgrades for this game that I really like and have all of anyways. Yeah, the grand total on it came to something in the neighborhood of $475. So they just broke that up into installments, which is nice because instead of like eating that to the face at one time, I just throw them $65 a month.
I have crowdfunded, I think, a grand total of 2 things.
Yeah.
And one of them was stickers.
Yeah.
So I got some stickers.
Yeah.
And that cost me $5.
Yeah.
And I forgot that I had done it. And it just kind of arrived in the mail once, and I was like, okay, cool, stickers. And then the other one, I got a PDF out of it, and it was like $25. I can't even imagine spending $400 on a thing that might not ever arrive.
No, that's the only reason I kickstarted is because it 100% will arrive, because this is a game that is backed by like actual publishing, like Capstone Games and stuff like that, which we're going to get into as the usage of Kickstarter by people that don't need to Kickstarter things. But aside from it, I've only really done a couple of other things through, like I kickstarted a tiny epic game that, again, did not need to use Kickstarter, but does routinely. And then I got some 3D printing files for a tabletop, like, board game system that kind of converts existing tables into a lowered surface setup with card holders and token compartments and stuff like that. But yeah, like I don't interact with it a lot.
Part of the reason that I wanted to do this is I've through the one-page RPGs, I've recently started getting involved with other game designers, and one of the things that they were talking about fairly heavily was that Kickstarter is almost a must at this point. Like if you want to get your game to market and you want people to buy it, then doing a Kickstarter is almost like a necessity. It's a requirement to get that handled. And I have so little interaction with that whole world that I was interested in getting your perspective on it, both as a person who has kickstarted things and from the retail perspective as well, of just like, because I know one of the things that is happening quite a bit with this is that Kickstarters are being used to almost replace the retail model. So like a lot of these games, they'll go to Kickstarter only, and then you'll never actually see them in a game store.
Yeah, so I mean, I can think of a couple of examples, but one in particular that I really wanted to pick up that I wound up not getting was Lords of Atlantis 2, which is like a tabletop MOBA, which like appealed to me because like I used to play a lot of League of Legends, things like that. I thought it'd be a fun activity, and then there is just no way to get it outside of direct purchase through Kickstarter. Like and they don't. You can't just like go to the website and buy the game at all. Like the only way to get it was Kickstarter. As someone who does work in brick and mortar nerd stuff, but is also a huge consumer of the rest of the hobby, Kickstarter is in a really weird place for me, where it feels like it's taken over the entire industry, but in like a really negative way, in a way that's like harming, I think, the hobby. I love board games, and I do consume like some podcasts once in a while for like reviews and context and stuff like that. But the reality is that we went from this like what I would say in the last like 10 years was like sort of a golden age of board games in their availability and their publishing schedule and their ubiquitousness and the way the pop culture shifted on things like Catan and Ticket to Ride. And then the whole industry went insane and has basically put the entire cart before the horse and is trying to harvest money out of it in a really like unhealthy way that is going to long-term damage their ability to like sustain themselves. They've become like the market is flooded and inaccessible at the same time. It's so strange because I think the best analogy I can think of is what happened when we went from cable to pirating to Netflix to everyone has their own subscription service, right? Everyone wanted to take the biggest piece of the pie that they could, and that means that more and more pies are being left uneaten because nobody knows that they're there.
I mean, my first experiences with Kickstarter were pretty early and pretty negative. Yeah. Like, the one that I remember most clearly from the early days was the Ouya, where you were going to be able to play video games on your TV. It was going to revolutionize gaming, and then it turned out to just be like phone games. Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't good.
It was really bad. I had a friend kickstart a board game in like 2012, which was like very early in the system, and God, the quality of it that showed up at his house made me think, oh, this is just for people who can't get their game published. Like this is just a way to like make a knockoff Chinese version of the board game that they wanted to make.
Right. Well, and then Exploding Kittens, I think, is probably like the biggest one that kind of took over everything for a minute.
Unfortunately,
It's not the world's best game, and
my kids got me a version of Exploding Kittens for Christmas a couple years ago. I've played it with them a few times. It's fine. My problem is that guy and that company now just crap out a new game every 6 months, and they're all the same. It's the
Oatmeal.
It is the Oatmeal. It's the Oatmeal. Yeah.
Okay. I remember when they were cool.
Yeah. Back when he was like sort of counterculture and subversive, and then he got a lot of money and was like, I'm just going to be like the most mainstream, quasi-edgy guy that I can.
There was a hot minute, like, this is a weird tangent, but there was a hot minute where, like, comic blogs were big.
Yeah.
Right? Like, between that one and, what was that other one called? Oh, no. Her name was, like, Ali Broski or something. She did the one about the allots. Whenever anybody writes an allot instead of a lot, she imagines it being like a big hairy creature.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, no. Okay. Clackies on the keys for a second.
No, that era for me, like, he fell into this, like, offshoot of webcomics that were, like, big at the time. Like, that was...
Hyperbole and a Half, that's what it was called.
Okay. No idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because I was reading a lot of webcomics at the time, and I thought for a minute that's what his was, and then I realized it quickly wasn't. It was just
it was just a blog.
Yeah, it was just him sort of ranting a little bit, and then he put like shitty cat drawings with it. And then turns out
funny shitty cat drawings.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm not saying they were like. When I say shitty, I mean that like he's not an artist. He's not there to make art. You know, he's just kind of.
Well, now we're fighting. Oh shit!
He was just his art was writing, and he was just sort of providing like examples for his writing,
right?
Illustrations in the truest sense.
Anyway, I don't like any of his games.
Yeah, I've played that. I've played Throw Burrito, Poetry for Neanderthals, like all that crap. There's one game that is just. I think the name of it is literally Let's Fight with Foam Swords, and that's it.
My kid saw that one at the bookstore. So there's a bookstore near us that has like a pretty good selection of like more mainstream board games. And he saw Let's Play with Foam Swords, and I had to like stop him and look at him for a second and be like, we made foam swords.
Yeah.
We already do this at home.
Like, let me show you a real foam sword. We'll get serious about this. You don't need that.
They're not even that serious. They're just like a pool noodle around some PVC.
No, I'm saying we could, though. Like, if you want to fight with foam swords, we're going to fight with foam swords. But
yeah, we can go get some proper boffers.
Yeah.
And have at it. But yeah, no, not my favorite game company, but like a lot of mass market appeal. Right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people were reading the Oatmeal at the time.
Yeah. Well, what's funny to me is I get people who buy those games every week and have never heard of the Oatmeal.
Really?
Yeah. They like walked by Dollarama and saw exploding minions and were like, whoa, is this like that?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
exploding minions?
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, is this like Unstable Unicorns? I'm like, sure.
I like unstable games. Like, I don't necessarily dig all of their mechanics, and they do often feel like they're playing solitaire, but I have liked a lot of their games, and I really love their art direction.
Sure, that makes one of us. But at any rate, the reason that we are beset by these games is because of his wild success on Kickstarter, which 100% was due to his established audience from the Oatmeal, where he said, hey, I want to try something new using my style. Will you guys come with me? I'm going to take this risk, but I need some insurance. And that insurance is your pre-orders.
Well, it's interesting how that's flipped, too.
Yeah.
Right? Where, like, early on, you had the platform, you had this idea, You were going to try and bring it to market, but you needed to make sure that the audience was there. And that's kind of what Kickstarter was for, right? And I would argue that that's still what Kickstarter is for, but not everybody's using it like that.
No.
But like now, in order to be able to sell games, you have to market through Kickstarter.
Yes.
Essentially. Which is just bizarre.
Yes and no. It's so strange. My feeling is that the industry has seen this opportunity to cut out the distributors, your Asmodees, your Grosvenors, your whoever, and keep more of that money for themselves by selling things for retail prices direct to consumer. And the load of doing that has been just placed on Kickstarter, so they don't have to have their own web store. They don't have to do any real advertising other than like pushing the Kickstarter campaign to their socials, because Kickstarter is all about discoverability. And now they get to have their lunch and eat it too. So they get to do this first run where they make a bunch of money, and then they can turn around and still send it to the retail stores.
If they even want to.
If they want to. They get the luxury of doing both. Sometimes it works out. There's some games that have both had, like Exploding Kittens or Gloomhaven, have had big Kickstarter successes and then transition to retail releases and are still going strong. There's a lot that just, I don't know what
didn't show up at all.
Yeah, and that's I hate to say that that's like a misconception, but it's definitely a stank that's still on there for me from day one, is that so many projects got kickstarted out of like optimism, I guess, and hope for a new future of commerce, and either they were just scams and people took money and ran, or they were quasi scams where people got in way over their heads and overcommitted and had no idea what their actual costs were, or they had every good intention and roughly knew what they were doing, and then the pandemic hit and suddenly making everything in China became impossible.
Well, and I think there's also
they were just
people
bad.
just kind of sucking at things.
Yeah.
Like that I think is the most common reason that this sort of thing happens, is that like you have a cool idea, and like you run into this with writing all the time. The whole idea of like running up to George R.R. Martin and being like, I have the best idea for a book, and George R.R. Martin is like, that is not the hard part. Everything that comes after that is the hard part. You're like sitting down and writing a book and getting it edited and doing the work is the hard part. And I think that Kickstarter, especially early on, kind of sold itself as an idea machine, right? Like you have a good idea and you don't even have to make it, and people will come and give you money for it. Right. And
there's no repercussions if you fuck it up.
Well, yeah, okay. So this is something that is going to be kind of a common theme, I think, through this discussion, is that like I remember what Kickstarter is for, and it is not purchasing a product.
No.
Kickstarter is backing an idea.
Yeah, it's gambling.
Whether or not that idea ever actually gets made. Yeah. You've still backed the idea.
I like this person and their ideas. I hope this works out. It's an infinite hope machine.
That is not how it is being treated.
Not at all.
By either the backers, who are treating it very much like they've purchased a thing.
Right.
And I think that is also very similar to the idea of like, you know that thing that people do where they pick up the first book of a series that isn't done yet? And then in their mind, they've created a contract with the author that they are going to continue to read books, and you have a responsibility to provide me with book.
Speaking of George R.R. Martin.
Right. I think Kickstarter has kind of that same sensibility of like backers treat pledges as though they are a purchase.
Right.
Right. They are misaligning their expectations with what is actually going to be delivered, because the responsibility to deliver is actually kind of nothing.
Right. Well, and part of the problem is that, and I don't blame the backers for this, but the number of campaigns that are happening on Kickstarter that literally are just pre-sales, right? Mm-hmm. Like the one that I backed for Gamelin, I backed because I knew they're gonna make this fucking product. It's coming out, like it's happening 100%. I'm just gonna get it 6 months before the retail stores do. Right?
Well, you see it all the time too with like the really low funding limits, right? Like everything is a stretch goal. Yeah. The initial funding, like the fully funded 100% thing, is like $500.
Yeah.
And then the stretch goals are like $7 million. If we get $7 million, then we'll do this thing, right? And so like that first goal, that initial goal, is like instant. You already have it funded. It's already going to be made. There is a guarantee it's going to get made. And then everything else is stretch goals.
Well, and that's what's funny is that, like, so you've heard of Wormwood Games. They make expensive tables. They've been running they ran their company for a long time on an infinite Kickstarter loop, knowing that, like, we're gonna make this shit no matter what. We're just seeing how many of them we're gonna sell, right?
Yeah.
And they've had some of the biggest Kickstarters of all time, period. And when that becomes the norm, is that giant Kickstarter means this is a real company that's giving you a thing for sure, it sets an unhealthy expectation. You know, when there's companies out there who, I don't want to say they're abusing it, but they are not aligned with the ideal use case of Kickstarter. Whether it's greed or just savvy business moves to you know, like I said, like collect their share before they spend it, you know.
Well, and I feel like maybe it's evolved a bit too, right? Like
sure.
The initial idea of a lot of things evolves and changes over time, right? Like, do you remember when Facebook was for looking at the funny post that your friend made from the party last week?
Still trying to live that reality.
Yeah, instead of having to dig through like 17 pages of like bad minion memes and like hope posting, and
they had to make a new tab that was just what the fuck are my friends up to, because your home
and then
feed,
they hid it.
I know, because your home feed is just recommended stuff. It's nothing to do with you and your life. It's just like things we think you should consume. It's like bad Reddit.
Well, and that's something that I fear about Kickstarter as well. Like, I don't know how prone to this Kickstarter is, but like, there seems to be some algorithm gaming that you can do on the platform. Like, for one thing, the 100%ed within 24 hours thing.
That's like a benchmark now. That's like, okay, well, like, we're going to do this, so we just need to game our initial ask to make sure that we hit that number. Because we need to advertise. It used to be
like a sign that this was going to be a big, cool, popular thing, and so like you put eyeballs on those things because people are excited about them.
Yeah.
But like riding that hype train has become so gamified and commodified that it's kind of starting to turn into a YouTube algorithm.
Yep.
And it's horrifying to see that.
Yeah.
Like, on anything. I'm so done with YouTube algorithms.
Oh, 100%.
But, yeah, no, I wonder how much of the change in the way that people are using Kickstarter is just like the organic difference that comes from the age of the platform and people using it in new and innovative ways, and then those new and innovative ways become like the standard for the thing.
Yeah.
Versus like how much of it is people being greedy assholes and just trying to game it for the most possible money that they can get, right?
At this point, I have to feel like it's probably like at best 50-50, but I'm almost certain that there's just a lot of greedy assholes who, one or two people were like, hey, look at these cool Kickstarter tricks, and then they We're like, fantastic. I'm going to abuse that.
Well, and like, God, there are so many problems.
Yeah. Yes.
Transparency is a big one. Oh, man. Just like the lack of updates on some of these projects is incredible. One that we were talking about a little earlier that has like nothing to do with games and gaming, but it's one of the ones that I kind of have a touchstone with, is a comic creator, Lexi Douglas.
Right.
Did a Kickstarter, made like a ton of money, posted 6 pages, and then disappeared.
I mean, you say a ton, but like that's a very small amount of money to ruin your life over.
It's a life-changing amount of money for me, though.
Sure. Sure.
If somebody were to suddenly show up and just drop like $40K in my lap, I think I'd be having a pretty good day.
But like, did she even get 40? I thought it was like 10.
I don't remember what she made.
Not important. Anyways.
Not important. Anyway, she got a bunch of money and she disappeared.
Yeah.
But like the thing that people got really upset about, and I've seen this on a few other Kickstarters, is just like the lack of communication that comes from it. Where it's just like, are you still alive? Is this project still a go?
Yeah.
Have you canceled it? Like, if you've canceled it, please just let us know so we can stop hoping.
Yeah. So there's two hilarious opposite ends of the spectrum with this. So first of all, I think part of the reason that Wormwood was able to run so many Kickstarters so successfully for so long is that they combined what they were doing on Kickstarter with their YouTube channel, where they straight up said, "This is Wormwood Gaming. We are going to have you join us through this entire process and be so open about the logistical struggles, the sourcing struggles, the design process, everything that goes into making these Kickstarters." And the only Kickstarters that they've had that had some problems were when they worked with outside sources that weren't as open. Like the Dice Kickstarter that they did with a creator who wasn't as upfront with how they were, producing these things or their process on them, and it wound up being this big nightmare where it's like, well, why are you keeping the fact that you do have this work in China from us?
Right.
Like, they don't have a problem with working with China. It's just like, tell us what's going on so we can talk to people directly. On the other end, like, there's
I do have a question about that, though.
Sure.
How important do you think it is to like skew towards pleasing the backers versus finishing a product and like making something good and bringing it to market?
I could you elaborate on that, because I don't see those as competing ideals.
Just like the hitting all of your stretch goals and like sending things to your backers that aren't necessarily the game, and like all of the work that goes into the backer pleasing side of stuff that ends up causing delays in publication and stopping the thing from like getting out, and maybe even like not getting out at all because you've spent so much time sending people sticker books that you haven't actually finished your goddamn game.
Oh, so never send us a sticker book ever. Like, what you should be as far
the
as
stickers I got.
As far as pleasing your backers go, like the transparency, all of your work should be ultimately towards delivering what you promised to deliver, and all of the communication from Wormwood through their channel is in service of that narrative or that ideal, right? Where it's like, hey, these are the things we promised to make. Let me tell you, like, yeah, there's the first round of tables for like the modular tables were like, I think it was a year delayed, right? But you got to walk through that whole process with them of, hey, so we got all this money to make these things. Production is not where it needs to be to get them out the door on time. What are we going to do to expand production? What are we going to do to increase efficiency so we're, not just like capable of making more at the same time, but capable of pushing them through at a faster rate? It's not like So you saw how that was affected in the operational process and the design process. We backed all of these specific types of wood. Well, suddenly we can't get that type of wood because fucking COVID. Like the amount of goddammit COVID that happened on that channel was ridiculous. But like,
and also everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to hear it not just from them through like a single update once a month on their site, but you saw it happening and you heard the vendors telling them, I can't get this to you, right? Because reasons. Because some idiot didn't know how to drive down a canal and got a ship stuck. Like things like that. On the other hand, you've got... So my friend backed this Stellaris board game. Stellaris, hugely popular video game. He's like, cool. I want to own that. Seemed like, a good 4X game with the plan was to have a huge like card-based system that faithfully recreated a lot of the stuff from the video game. I know.
Sounds like Twilight Imperium with so many extra steps.
they're at like 2,500 plus cards that are coming in this first. It's Looney Tunes.
Just cancel your fucking week. Like, you kind of have... Like, okay, so my experience with Twilight Imperium is that it is a weekend endeavor.
Yeah, it's a great way to ruin a weekend with friends.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine that, but more complex. Like, have you played this Stellaris video game?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, imagine taking all of that and turning it into a card game.
My friend plays Stellaris regularly, rarely finishes individual games. Yeah, he hits this point where he's like, all right, I think I've got like overwhelming momentum. We'll just start a new one. Like,
yeah, I'm good. I know how this is gonna go.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I feel like the game is gonna go that way.
I have played the game a few times, and every time it seems like my empire is about to get subjugated by another empire, I'm like, maybe I'm done.
Yeah. So they raised like $3 million, and the plan was to deliver Stellaris Infinite Legacy, quote, well before March 2022.
How's that going?
That was 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So they hit that delivery.
And they said that everything was fully developed and play tested. Artwork was finalized, manpower scheduled and set aside to make sure shipping happens. And then nothing. Like you got maybe semi-annual updates on what was happening.
That is wild. That is wild.
There's a
how
meeting.
Do you even justify that though, right? Like as a company, you have that much money.
I think this guy is just terrible at communicating. Period. Someone interviewed him or met with him at Gen Con 2022. The guy never reads anything anyone writes on BGG or Kickstarter. He says they made a, quote, company decision to focus on making games over communication and seemed proud of that. To your point, his explanation was they could hire a PR person, which would need to be a full-time job with all of the messages that they get, but it wouldn't bring in as much revenue as hiring another game designer.
Okay, but that's not why you hire a PR person.
I know.
You hire a PR person so that you can continue to make money after the thing is out because you handled your PR correctly.
At one point, they just said everything's ready to go for October. Did they say a year? No. The project
October
closed
2030.
The project had already hit 18 months late, and no. Like, basically, people were writing it off as vaporware. And then in 2023, halfway through, they started, hiding their Facebook posts that were, highlighting other projects. Because everything that they did that was like, we still exist, we're making other things. People were like, where's Stellaris?
Speaking of George R. Martin.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you get an update. And as of... I think September of last year, they were like, hey, the EU shipping from the Chinese factory to fulfillment companies was happening before Chinese New Year of 2026. So maybe the EU will get their stuff now, but like North America hasn't. Like, who knows where this stuff is going? No one's gotten this game in their hands yet. It's
real quick. We're coming up on time. Real quick.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We need to have a part 2 of this conversation because there's so much more to talk about with Kickstarter and the problems.
We could. Okay, let's do that then. I was about to ask a really broad question to which there is very likely a long-winded explanation.
Yeah. I want to touch on how Kickstarter itself is a double-edged sword that often cuts the companies that use it and has forced the closure of at least 3 publishers that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
Never mind the What's that?
Let's get real into that next week then.
Yeah, we'll go over that. I think we need to talk about the abuse of Kickstarter as a more in depth. The abuse of Kickstarter as a source of early revenue from pre-orders. But then
I really want to get into is like how to make it better.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we need to look at some of the positive things because there's tons of disasters. They get a ton of, for every, what have I got? For every Andromeda's Edge, there's a Kingdom Death monster, So.
Oh, Kingdom Death.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into part 2 next week.
Hey, thanks for making it all the way through this episode of No Plot, Only Lore. If you're looking for more, you can always find us at noplotonlylore.com and on all the very best podcast platforms. If you like what you heard today, please share, rate, and review the show to feed my never-ending need for attention and validation.